Last episode, we zoned all of our planned development. Today, we're going to try and stabilize our budget before we go bankrupt. We'll add in some farms, one single industrial building, we'll detail a beach, and lay the groundwork for our biggest development yet. We have even more ground to cover than last time, so let's just jump right into it. Alright, welcome back to Elba, Italy. First thing I want to do is start expanding our road network to some of these flat areas over here. There's really a few of them around the map, and if this island was starting from scratch, it's probably where we develop first. We'll need to snake some roads around the mountains with the goal of maintaining a fairly reasonable grade. And I'm hoping we can do all of this with $42,506. So we'll see. I'm going to use a custom road. It's essentially just an alley road with markings, although to me it feels more like a rural highway. And we're just going to snake this all the way around the mountain. Alright, and this is looking pretty good so far. I'm trying really hard to stay between 8% grade. There's a lot of terrain to contend with, of course, but I'm happy with how much I'm curving against the mountain. Some parts we might come back and fix if they look a bit silly afterwards, but so far it's looking good to me. Alright, and this leads us into our first little development area. And the road looks definitely a bit wonky. It's kind of funny, but once we've actually developed a lot of our flatland, I do want to come up to these hills and start developing up here as well. There's so many different things we could develop. Parks, residential. I think it's going to look really, really nice once we're finished. I don't really like this junction over here. It seems like it'd be a big conflict point, but let's move on for now. Maybe we can fix it later. I want to send a road through here, and I want to try and make sure we're maximizing our development space. So let's go back over to our main area, and let's just see what road they brought in. Okay, so it's just a highway. So we will just take our Elba 2-lane road, which is essentially just a normal 2-lane road, but the sidewalks are a lot smaller. And let's just draw this in. On second thought, I'm not sure if it makes sense to have our road swap here, because this highway would really be our main arterial for all of these outside areas. Because of that, I think it makes sense for it to actually just be a highway. So we'll send it all the way through here, and that'll allow us access to here in the future when we buy that tile. All right, now with that done, let's just send it all the way through here so I have a reminder for myself in the future. All right, now we want to add in a road along the shoreline right here. This will most likely be a connector. We'll just use our 2-lane road and we'll send it in. This area could be a few things. I'm not sure what it might be yet, but I'm thinking either cargo port or maybe a small pocket of industrial. I don't really know yet. It's tough to know until you have your roads laid out and you're seeing everything. Now this will be one of the areas we develop last, and we only have 16,000 left, so I'm not going to draw any roads for that area just yet. But what we do need is a connection into this area, and then I think we're going to snake a road all the way up to this mountain. That way we can have more access to the other side of the map. Alright, now we need to get to this area right here, and the way we're going to do that is by extending our current highway. So we'll just extend it kind of up this mountain and just snake our way through. The thing that would worry me is that if we don't have more than one connection into these areas, if a small disaster happened, it would be over. They wouldn't have any access. Or maybe aside from boats. So we'll need to consider that as well. Maybe like a ring highway all the way around the map. I'm wondering how much these tiles cost. Oh yeah, we can't even buy one. If we wanted to buy both of them, we'd need way more money than what we have right now. So let's just try to not go bankrupt here and extend our highway up. Okay, and that's looking good. I started from the top of the mountain because I figured it'd be a lot easier for my brain to understand how to get down. Sometimes when you're going up, you don't really know where you're going, but if you set a marker for yourself, then it's much easier to follow. And when we have these corners like these, we want to make sure we're flat. It's just much safer than having a slope and turning that tight. So now we're just going to follow all the way down here and we'll connect in along the side of the mountain. And this should give us access to this area. Oh no, we don't have money. Oh, this is a problem. I was really hoping that we could at least fill out one of these areas and start some zoning or some development. So let's think about what we can do here. We do have the one area that we could zone on, although I don't want to do that until I'm ready. Otherwise, you just rush and then you're really not happy with the outcome. We could take a loan, but that puts us even in a bigger deficit, which I'm not excited for either. So negative 50,000, or there's no loan that gives us any leeway. For services, why don't we drop pretty much all of our services? I think that's the only way we'll be able to move forward. So let's drop healthcare. And I just want to work these numbers until I get somewhat in the green, or at least a red number that's not so scary. Let's bump up our taxation. I don't want to do commercial because we don't have any demand. Office, we have essentially nothing. So let's bump up our residential to about 12%. That gets us to negative $139 per hour, which isn't so bad. Maybe if we move forward in time, it'll help. No, not really. Okay, new plan. Let's just put all the services on the chopping block and let's just completely destroy them. So now we're in the green. Okay, now we're not doing too bad. We could probably let this simulate for, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes and get some decent money. You know, for fire and rescue, I actually have a question. If we only have one building and that one building only has one vehicle and our budget is at 50%, so our service efficiency is negative 75%, what happens to our fire station? Do we still have one vehicle going out? And if we increase this, does that change the number? No, it doesn't. All right, last time, let's go all the way to 100 this time and see, does that change the number? Okay, so it doesn't. So what that means is I think we can drop our fire station budget all the way down to 0 or to 50%, and we won't lose our actual vehicle because we only have one fire truck right now. So let's drop this all the way down, and I don't think it should make a difference. Hopefully we'll still see our one fire truck go out and serve the community. And now let's just simulate this and try and get a decent amount of money. All right, it's only been about 3 minutes, but we have some money to spend, about $4,400. So I want to get a bridge running from this side to the other side. And then I'm thinking that we could have a road come into the city underneath that bridge somewhere along here. For the bridge itself, I just want to connect onto the other side. And eventually we'll have a proper ring road around here. So let's start with our bridge. And we're out of money again. All right, you know what? We have a bit of a surplus, so let's just take a very, very small loan. I'm thinking either 50 to 100K, and it gives us a decent amount of surplus left over. Honestly, it's still essentially pennies. And let's fix this area up right here. So we'll add in some blocks and we'll make it zonable. And I'm looking at this right here and it needs to be fixed. It's too wavy for no reason. Okay, and that's looking pretty good. I just wanted to add a bit of chaos to it so it didn't feel so gritty and, I don't know, perfect. I like the way this has turned out because it just feels somewhat, I don't know, random. Maybe there were dirt roads here before. Maybe there was some form of farming or whatever it may be. Right here, I'm not entirely sure what to do with yet. So I'm going to save this area. Over here, I could either see some farms or a resort or a potential beach. So let's add out just a few roads over here too. And then over here, I could definitely see some form of port, either cargo or passenger. Let's take a quick look and unlock it. So we'll go into transportation, unlock our water. 2 development points, not a problem. We still have 9. And let's just open this up and see. So we can't afford any of them. Oh, I just wish it was just a tiny bit smaller. The scale of this building does not fit the size of this island. But I do want to get it in soon. And I want to start planning this out. I almost feel like this would be the perfect area for it. Either way, let's just do a bit of road networking. So we'll just add some in. All right, and that's the rough layout for this area. Let me know what you think. Should this be a cargo port? Should this be a passenger port? Should we just develop here? Love to hear your ideas. Always happy to implement them. We don't need to develop yet just because we still have a good amount of money from our loan, but let's add in this connection, and then we need to build out our second way into the city because we just can't have one. All right, so we'll have one connection that'll come from the bridge and snake its way underneath. Then we need to have one connection coming from this hill. I think it makes sense, and honestly, it'll probably look pretty cool. So let's find a good spot to start our connection from, and then we'll just snake our road all the way down. All right, not bad at all. We'll still need to continue the highway around as a ring highway, and I think we'll also send it up the hill and put some farms on it. But so far, it's looking pretty good. We got our 2 connections in. Now we need to start thinking about the actual bones of this part of the city. So how do we want our road network to look? I figure we might go a little bit more gritty for this one and have this one be a bit more medium density. I wish we could just have smaller ports. Is that possible just by using the connection? Like if I just draw on a connection to like a, let's say a stop, will it work? Or do you have to have one of the ports in? I believe you have to have one of them in. And it's a bit rough because they're so big. If I just could have like a small stop, it doesn't have to be a massive building or anything like that. Just give me a small stop. Anyways, I just trying to get a feel for where our passenger port will go. I still haven't decided yet. It's been a rough one for me. Anyways, rant over. Let's add in our road network here. And I'm tempted to make this a bit of a bigger road, given that this would be a more of a medium density area. It doesn't have to be like a 4-lane connector or arterial, anything like that, but it could have some more flair and design to it. So I'll be thinking about that as I build out the actual network itself. And before I forget and turn this into something else, I want to turn this into a beach. Now I want a very small and walkable grid. I don't want massive block lengths. So to do this, I think I'll go with 8 by 10 and then just start building out the grid based on that. And just a quick sanity check, let's see. So this would fit on here. And what about our Mediterranean housing pack? Okay, that looks pretty good. And even if we didn't use up all the space, this means we can run an alleyway in between and either have some parks or whatever it may be. Now let's just finish building this out. All right, now along our main road, I'm going to change it to this 2-lane divided road. It's essentially just the same as a 2-lane road, but it has grass and a median in the middle, and it has trees on both sides. So I think it's going to look a lot nicer, but in terms of capacity, it's going to offer us no real difference from just our normal road. Now I'm going to quickly develop our beach. I'm going to be using some assets from Sully, or I guess some surfaces from Sully. And I'm really just going to try and do this quickly. I don't want to perfect anything just yet. At the end, once all of this is developed and the competition is close to an end, is when we're really going to come in and perfect every last detail. I also think maybe there's room for a lighthouse somewhere. So this riverbed texture that I'm adding right here is going to give me problems in the future, and I can't believe I didn't realize that I did this, because if I could have just fixed it, then I wouldn't have had to deal with the problems. And for context, it's these little things right here. There's rocks underneath the sand, and later on I'm going to ask, why are they there? So if you're ever wondering. Why can't I place... Oh my god, we don't have any money. I was wondering why I couldn't place any more bushes. It's because we're out of money. In fact, we're negative. But the view is nice, so that's a plus. So now it's time to start figuring out how can we fix our money situation, and maybe we'll increase density around here. Yeah, it's about time. So we got some really good comments on the last episode, and I looked into it, and yeah, there is lots of density all around Elba. I guess the small community that I looked at wasn't very dense, and for some reason I thought that would apply to the entire island, which doesn't even make sense. The island is so restricted on space, they would have to increase density. Maybe not skyscrapers, but they still need some density. So I'll probably just add in some Mediterranean housing. I'm going to smash them together, try and get something that feels nice. Okay, and that looks pretty good. We'll probably add a bit more density, but I really can't do anything right now because we're negative money. I can't add roads, I can't add trees. I couldn't even add a road in between these two buildings if I wanted to. So let's just try and make do with what we have. We'll speed up the simulation. Actually, why don't we go place some housing over here? Now, I have a feeling that no one's going to move in over here because there's no services, there's no jobs, there's essentially nothing except for a non-functioning beach. And we're not even done with that yet because we can't afford it. So we'll add some houses in here, and I hope someone moves in, but maybe they won't. And we need a name. Please suggest your names in the comments. I'll probably go through and either 1 or 2 episodes review all the names and start adding them in. Huh, weird. We have a sewage problem, but we shouldn't. We also have an electricity problem. Why wouldn't the utilities reach all the way down here? The roads that I added carry all of the utilities and the electricity, so there shouldn't be any problem. All right, quick update on the problem. There was a big problem, and it's been very difficult to fix. I don't exactly know what the problem is. All I know is that it didn't like the connections that were currently set up. And right now, we can't even afford to put the rest in. So we're just going to take a slightly bigger loan. That way we can pay for this. Thankfully, we still have a surplus. Now let's finish adding these in, and hopefully this fixes it. Okay, and yes, it did. Finally, perfect. I'm so happy. I spent way too long doing that. And I really like the way this looks. The plazas themselves are a bit way too empty, and we'll add some life to those eventually, but these buildings together work really well. The ones on the right are just a level 3, and the ones on the left are level 1. Exact same buildings besides that. I'm going to take a guess and say no one lives here. No. Yeah, so there's no one in these buildings, and that's because unoccupied buildings, availability of jobs, and taxes. We can't do much about the taxes, but we can do something about the jobs. So let's take a quick look over here. I see some farms typically go up these kind of valleys. And do we have natural resources? Yes, we do. So we'll definitely put some farms in here. It'll be a bit tough. First, we're gonna have to send our road connection up. And now let's grab some farms, whether wheat or vegetables. Those are the two we'll go with. I also noticed we can go even further up here, but honestly, I don't think we will, only because we're gonna have to do a lot of grading to make this work. If we don't grade, it's gonna come out really janky. And I'm not going to go too hard on it. We're still going to have really small farms and constrained spaces, but I don't want it to be an eyesore either. And I have no problem with like sharp cliffs or anything like that, but in this case, I want to pretend that we never actually had to do this in the first place. The farm just naturally fit here. That's why I kind of softened up the sides just a bit. Okay, not bad. Not bad at all. It'll look much nicer when we have trees. We have one employee at each of them because they're so small. I think we could probably add one more right here depending on our natural resources. And yeah, we're golden. All right, and how does that look? Yeah, there's a bit of a slope, but as far as I understand, we can grow on a slope, but it depends on the soil because most minerals and nutrients fall down the soil and go to the bottom of the slope. Okay, now we're gonna want to get some more farms in, and we could really go with anything. It could be livestock, wheat, vegetables. I'm not really worried about that, but let's just take a quick look and see where we have fertile land. So we have this big area right here. Then we have tiny little pockets everywhere else. I think we'll develop this one. We'll probably have either wheat or vegetables for the fertile land, and the rest of the area could just have livestock. And wow, no water, power, or sewage. I thought I fixed this, so I'm gonna try a few things. So the way I fixed it is just by having the roads support utilities, so I just changed them in Road Builder. Over here, we don't have any fertile land, so we'll place livestock, but this time I'm going to grade it. So I'll grab this level and just kind of flatten this area out, and then we'll send a road up, and I'm hoping this will make it look just a bit better than the other one. And we have unlocked the dairy house. I don't really want to place it, but I think we might have to because we need more jobs. And while I was looking for a good place to place a dairy house, I actually came across this. This land has a lot of fertile land, and we're going to use it. I don't want one big farm though, because that wouldn't feel right. So I want a few different small farms, and then we'll vary it up between vegetables and wheat. And I broke it. Oh no. The funny thing is when you break it, it actually reports that there's 0 natural resources, and so it has an efficiency of 0. So if we click on it and look, we have natural resources negative 100%. And there's nothing we can do to fix it. All right, now with that replaced, let's just finish off these 3 farms as well. And we now have a surplus in everything, but especially vegetables. So that's pretty nice. We'll come back in detail there later on. All of our farms are okay, I guess. They're a bit wonky, but they'll work. All right, so update. I placed the dairy farm right near our other farms. It's not the greatest location, but it should work. Really, I'm doing a lot of detailing, getting really granular, so I'm gonna skip past a lot of this. All right, there's still a few adjustments I want to make, but I don't want to get too wrapped up in this for today. We have 74 employees, which is just great. We have 10 open positions for the highly educated, which makes sense. We don't have any education in our city whatsoever because we can't afford it. I hope by the end of this episode, maybe we can have some actual money. Now I'm going to finish up the beach. All right, coming up to finishing on our beach, there's only one more thing I want to do, other than trying to figure out why there's this weird surface underneath the sand, and that's just add some nice paths. All right, and the final look is not bad. I like it. There's a few areas that definitely need to be improved on. The layering of the surfaces definitely needs some work too. But overall, for a quick pass at this, I think it's fine. Once we get some density here, I can actually do a decent shot of people walking along here. But until then, it's pretty much just an empty beach. And I lied. Now we're done. Pretty much done at least. And I don't even know when we got in the green. I just noticed we're making about $10,000 per hour, which makes sense because I've been placing so many bushes. I don't know how I didn't realize. And now that we have money, let's spend some of it on a fancy new road connection alongside this mountain connecting to our previous development. And would you look at that, we're a boom town. Milestone 6 has been unlocked, and that gives us $150,000, which is really all I want. Actually, this building looks pretty nice. Actually, I think that's the building I think it is. And if it is, then we can connect a bunch of them together and get something really nice. All right, I'm gonna finish this. And that has got to be the worst connection I've ever seen. So what if we upgrade this to a bridge? How does it look then? Yeah, I don't think this is going to work. I'm trying to think about this. It's just like it'd be so expensive, and we have a connection right there. It may not be the best for traffic, but we might as well just add it in. And honestly, we spent all this money on roads today. We might as well just upgrade this one as well. All right, that's looking pretty good. We cut into the hill pretty crazy there, but we'll deal with it. I want to delete this surface, and then I want to show you the signature building we just unlocked. Here it is. It could look really good if there was either 2 of these or 4 of them back to back, all in the same block. Disregard the road clipping through there. I think that's pretty cool. It feels massive, but also super tame at the same time. So I want to add this in. But I hate placing signature buildings more than once because then you get the benefits and the bonus for it, and it kind of just feels like cheating. All right, last but not least, I went and fixed up the beach just a bit. I removed the riverbed texture underneath and just added a bunch more detail from benches to chairs to little booths and stalls to gazebos, sandboxes, parks, and that's a wrap. If you want to see a quick cinematic, stay tuned, but I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. We're finally ready to grow, and hopefully without the worry of budgeting. If you enjoyed it, please feel free to like, subscribe, comment. It really does help with the algorithm. Other than that, I'll see you in the next one.